Hello, hello. Do a quick mic check. All right, it's a little low, but I think it's all right. I'll try and talk louder. All right, 1 second. I'll have cameras up and ready. Um, just a minute. My whole streaming schedule is all messed up, so to be honest, I'm not expecting a ton of people to show up today because I don't normally stream at this time. It's on this day. Everything's all messed up at the moment. But I should have a schedule set up next week. All right. All right, let's see here. Um, Hello. My room is a total disaster because I had that um art fair and everything right now is in my room, just kind of piled in. Hmm, camera's doing something weird here with the light. Let's see real quick. I'm just trying to see if, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the faded uh, effect. We'll see. We'll see. All right. It's really so weird. Okay. Let's see if I can solve this problem with a little bit of tape real fast. I guess that kind of works. All right. Um, so to, so what's going on here is I went in and I added some gold leaf to fix a few, there were just a few spots here and there to fix. Um, so I did that, and now I have to go in and fix those spots that I fixed because I messed up other things. So I have to do that here and here. Um, yeah, so That's the plan. Okay. I'm debating if I want to start on this one or on this one. I guess I'll just do the self-portrait because it's already in the correct place for it. There. Shoot. Um, all right. So gonna get the palette out. Yeah. Get started. I'm just gonna throw all these gloves away. They're kind of old and used. All of them have holes. Try to reuse gloves as much as possible, but there's only so much you can do. Speaking of holes. Yeah. All righty. Get the palette out. I will say, I think this painting actually has more to fix on it than the other one. Not just the gold. I feel like maybe there might be some you know minor things that I should probably, I don't know, adjust or something. We'll see. It's hard to say because some of this is definitely faded. Well, not faded, but what's the word? Sunken. So I probably should just oil out. I was just hoping to avoid oiling out the whole thing, but I might have to. Maybe not. Some of this I don't think is safe to oil out yet. Some of the, yeah, I'm not sure I can oil out. Some of the gold seems to be, I don't know how well it's stuck on there. You know what I need is I need my glasses so I can see better, unfortunately. And Photoshop, it would be nice if you actually opened the file I asked you to open. Photoshop. Actually, not Photoshop, it's Adobe Bridge right now. Come on. Navigating sometimes is just so difficult. All right. All right, let's see. trying to see how glued on this bolt is. A little bit coming off, but uh, on my computer it's being giving me such a hard time just to open this file. All right, so I definitely want to oil out the face and hair because it's all sunken in and I feel like it needs to be revitalized a bit. All right, and then probably should get my brushes too, little things like that that I could easily forget. All right, there we go. Finally opened up the file. All right. So yeah, other than fixing some of the gold, I feel like this painting might need a little bit of attention for um, a few detailed spots. Like I thought it was done, but I don't know. I feel like a little more depth in certain areas, maybe. We'll see. It's always. Oh, I should say it's always as if everyone deals with it, but I always struggle with like I struggle with the balance of, generalization and um and compression and the details and the like nuances of things. I struggle sometimes with all of those things, like getting the balance right. And there is no correct balance. It's more an issue of like, what is the balance for what I'm trying to do? But it's not because there's no correct version. It can be challenging. Sometimes it's easier than others because I go into a painting with an idea of exactly how I want it and so on. But that's not always the case. So let's revitalize some of the face and really the hair. Let's see. There's a lot of like subtleties in the hair that didn't even show up before. So yeah, glad I did that. I mean, some of this stuff will come back anyways if when I varnish it, but oiling out will help too. All right, let's going to need more oiling out oil though. Get that. I'm running low on oleo gel, fortunately. All right. So you can oil out with linseed oil. Um, and you can oil out with walnut oil and with other mediums. I like oiling out with oleo gel. It's just a linseed oil gel. It has a little more thickness to it, um, being a gel. But when you put it on so thin, um, I don't, because when you're oiling out, you want to put it on very, very thin. It might sound counterintuitive to put a gel on so thin when you can just use oil, but I feel like it stays better in place, and I don't know, feels better because of that. It's not a huge difference, I'll be honest. Like you can easily, you know, skip it and oil out with linseed oil, or you can also use um, there's another um, I didn't even test that, but yeah, dry. Um, what's the other gel? Um, oh, I'm blanking on the name. Gamblin, uh, solvent-free gel. I think it's very similar to oleo gel, but it's not quite the same, but it's very, very, very similar. And then there's other mediums you can use, but there's also mediums that specifically tell you not to use them for oiling out. Um, a lot of like the alkyd mediums are very clear that you shouldn't oil out with them, even though people still do it. I don't know enough about them and like why. I think it's because of yellowing, but I don't know. Hey Des, welcome. How are you doing? I'm here. I'm just oiling out, so I'm on the floor trying to see the reflection, the shine from oiling out. How are you doing, Des? But yeah, I was just talking about the different mediums that you can use to oil out, and that, some of them are explicit that you shouldn't use them to oil out, but people still do. And I don't have a good answer as far as like what will happen. I just know that it says don't use it, and generally speaking, if they say don't use it for something, I don't think it's generally not a good idea. We'll put it that way. Sometimes when it says use something for something, it's also not a good idea. But when they say don't, then it's probably not a good idea. Hey, oh, there's another person on YouTube. I can't see their name from here. Um, Zepto says looking fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's pretty much done. I don't want to say 100% done because there's like a few little spots and details that I'm going to, you know, address, but it's mostly done. I'm oiling out everything right now just so I can see like how, light or dark things are, because some of it sunk a little bit, which is honestly a little surprising for me because most of my paintings don't sink much. But it not a big deal. All right. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix. I put more um, gold on a few spots. I'm going to fix those, and then I'm going to go in and just try and hit the details that need, just a little extra. How are you doing, Zep? Is Zep good, or do you prefer something else? Zep is easy, but that's not what you like. Let me know. I'm gonna put out a little more oleo gel. And for anyone who's new, you're welcome to ask questions. I met a lot of new people at the art fair, and um, if anybody shows up from that, or just new in general, more than welcome to ask questions. The Twitch audio is muted? That's weird. Oh, you got it working. Oh no. Maybe they're punishing me for opting out of their AI nonsense. Okay, I need to put out some paint before I can actually paint. Didn't realize it was dry. Yeah, so it was on your end. I got it. All right. Well, at least it's working. That's a plus. But yeah, yeah. I don't know where I was going with things. Um, yeah, this is almost finished. I just need to do those little fixes, and then I don't know exactly which details I'm going to be adding, but well, sure, they'll like pop out to me in a minute. Anyways, how are you doing, Des? If you couldn't hear me ask you that earlier, I asked, how you doing? Let me tell you that I did the um, what's it called? The fixes for the gold, and I used you know, the gold leaf glue stuff in my room, but it was so hot and I was doing such small areas, I didn't bother opening the window and ventilating. Oh man, that stuff is strong. I'm fine. It's not, like I said, it was very small and very little, but geez, it's surprising for that little that it still was like, I still was kind of thinking, "Oh, I probably should have ventilated this because of how bad it was." Des says, "Oh my God, it's been weird around here. I won't go into all the details, but last night my sister got electrocuted by a live wire. We didn't know what in uh, We didn't know what in the basement. She's okay, went to the hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad she's okay. I shouldn't say that. Not sorry to hear that part. I'm just sorry she got electrocuted. That sucks. I know. Stunning commentary, that sucks. But yeah, that does. I'm really sorry to hear that. But the stress and craziness you think has really affected you? You're sore and dizzy. Think you were the one that got zapped? Crazy. Um, Sorry to hear that. I try not to talk about certain things too much on my stream, but I have to say personally, I've been in a bit of a funk because the the art fair went really well. That actually is a really good thing. So that not because of that, but after the art fair this week, I found out that a job I was trying to get, and I thought I was really a lock for. Um, they decided not to move forward with it. I don't know why. I don't know what, I have no idea. And you never know. But yeah, I'm really bummed out about it. And my whole schedule's changed too. And I have to figure out what I'm going to be streaming during the week now. Um, so I don't know. I was going to try and stream on Monday and Tuesday this week, but just too much stuff to deal with, unfortunately. Think think next week. Um, I don't know. Is Monday and Wednesday like a good stream schedule? Could maybe do Sunday night, but it would be Sunday like night, like starting at like 9 p.m. or something. So very late stream. All right. Um, there we go. All right. Oh, you can't see my Oh, no, you can see some of my palette today. Good. At least for now until I switch to the other painting. All right. Try to match that color right there. It's going to be actually pretty damn close. A little too saturated, but a little bit of black could fix that. I know you can neutralize with yellow. Um, depending, sometimes neutralizing with yellow is the right move, but sometimes it's just easier to like desaturate with black. There's what is it? Like you know, more ways than one to do things, basically. Hello, light and desaturate it. I've seen this thing recently online where people show like their, paint recipes for certain things. I know I've talked about this before, but I do not understand that concept at all. It's so foreign to me. I just can't understand it. We'll see if I can find the time. I think I might actually make a video about it. We'll see. Chances are low that I'll do it, but if I can, I'd like to. And the reason that I find it so foreign and weird is just because, like, I mean, this painting's a pretty good example of that. Like, my skin's literally blue in some of this. Like, I don't have blue skin, but it's blue and gray and all these other colors. So, like, what recipe would you give exactly? Like, I don't know what recipe would you give to, make the colors? Like, I don't know. That's why I find it weird to me. Another reason I find it kind of strange is because I use such a limited palette, and it's like, well, the recipe is just going to be, there's not a lot of options here. I don't know what to say. There's just, you know, not a ton of options, so it's pretty obvious. Yeah, my head's in the way. Didn't realize that. Sorry, my head's in the way today. I I think I moved the camera and I didn't realize that when I get close, I'm in the way. All right. So that was most of the. Let me fix a little more. I just realized I think there's another thing fixed here. All right. I have to adjust the color 1 second. It looks really dark on my screen. Is it very dark on yours as well? I mean, it's kind of a dark painting, but I feel like it might be a little overdone on the screen. Let me see. Hard to tell. Because I can do. Oh, that made it darker. Yeah, both of those I think make it better. Oh well. Never mind. All right, Des, no worries. So one thing, these are actually the glasses I'm wearing here. And there's some details that I couldn't see or could barely see in the even in my image, but because I have the glasses, I can see. I'm going to try and add just a little bit of the detail in there. Uh, Just a little bit of red, really muted red, say. Not like super duper saturated red. Yep, that's pretty close. And I'll go back in with some black to really get the design. There. And then I'm going to wipe it off because I don't like how I put it on. Glad to see it all wiped off. this is my painting process, constantly fixing all the, you know, mistakes or mess ups that I do. And by doing that, I end up building up the like layers of, you know, the different layers that I'm trying to, or the layers of depth and so on. All right. And I feel like some of the gold is kind of like following the glasses, and that doesn't really make any sense or add anything. So I want to go in and correct that. I think that happened. Well, actually, I have no idea how that happened, but it was not on purpose. And then just gonna make some of this thicker so it's blacker, because the hole here is supposed to be very dark. And then also not crazy about that one gold line there and that one right there next to it, because they are kind of messing up the edge of this piece. So that's more important. So there we are. So now the only real question is there anything that needs more something, you know? Like, do I need to, there's something that I need to like punch up at detail that needs to be pulled out more, so on. Actually, there's something I need to fix a little in the face. Do that. This is an example of me, let's see, this is an example of me using the like paint that's still stuck in my brush to help, you know, with like with the color that I'm trying to make. Because there was black still stuck like inside my brush, and that, you know, ended up helping me get more of the color that I desaturating the color and so on. Please, no, that is the wrong direction I'm trying to go. Not getting my face stuck in the way, ironically, of my own face. I, hold on. Okay. There we go. What I'm doing is I'm using uh, Photoshop, but you can use any program to brighten up the reference so I can see things that I can't actually see in the reference. It's not always a good thing to do, but it can be. Sometimes it's better to just do it based off of what you can see. However, sometimes it's useful. They're one of the hardest features for me. Like, I know how to do them, but they still can be really challenging. Even if you know how to do them and even if you know like how they're constructed technically, it can still be challenging. Ah, I'm in the way again. Don't realize when my head's in my, you know, in the way. I'm pretty sure, I think I did move the camera a bit and I didn't realize it. Or I didn't realize it would be so much in the way. I was wearing lipstick. That would be perfect, but I'm not. So I need to tone that down. Felt too This is I'll be honest, I think I struggle more with the darker paintings than I do the lighter ones. I just, I don't know why. I suspect I know why, but I'm not positive. I think, I suspect that one of the reasons I struggle with darker paintings versus the lighter paintings is purely because of how we as humans perceive um, light, you know, um, and dark, basically. We don't perceive it in a linear fashion, despite the fact that we think we do. And so I think that is where the struggle comes from. Yeah, I think that might be it. Also, I have um, hazel eyes, which are, you know, they're kind of a mix. Hazel's kind of a mix, but it's even when they're brown, they're on the lighter side of brown than like, brown eyes or something. And I know that like your eye color can affect how sensitive you are to light. And so I wonder, maybe I'm just partially more sensitive to it. And so it's easier for me to like function in the lighter spectrums more than the dark. Although I'm not positive on that, because I feel like if I could see better in the dark, it would, you know, I'd be able to paint better in the dark, but I don't see very well in the dark. So I'm kind of on the fence about that one. I think just how we perceive light and dark in general as humans makes a lot more sense to me. Some of these details that I'm adding right now, I feel like aren't actually improving things. I'm toning them back a bit, softening it all up. I know it's like super subtle stuff, so I don't know if you can even see any of it. Yeah. way too light. Put the smallest little dot there. I could tell it was too bright. Still didn't get it right. But yeah. Hey Milo, welcome. How are you doing? Anyone who doesn't know Milo, he does YouTube videos about well, he paints, but he does comic book and pop culture related stuff. Really cool gouache paintings. Check them out on YouTube. You're doing all right, looking amazing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just trying to. I fixed. There was like one or two gold spots where I needed to fix the gold leaf, and I did. So now I'm just like literally just adding all the final, final details. You know, not the final details, but the final details. You know how it is. That's too much. Do not like that. But yeah, my work schedule just changed a lot, so I have to figure out my new streaming days. I think it's going to have to be Monday and Wednesday. I think is going to be my new stream schedule. Um, yeah, I think it has to be. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I'm doing okay. Um, yeah, I like that a lot better. A lot less, you know, obvious for the glasses. little more dimension in the hair using the like reflected light to try and do that. It's very subtle and I'm not sure how much it's translating to the camera right now, but I assure you, I'm actually putting paint down. Give my camera a minute to cool off. Yeah. How far into the painting process when you stop, if at all referring to your reference? At what point is it just flow state and instinct? Um, no, none, no state at this. Yeah, I'm still looking at my reference right now. So it it's a combination of like I'm looking at my reference, but I'm not, I'll say like I'm not trying to perfectly recreate it, in certain areas maybe, but not in all areas. So it it's something that like I continue to look at, but it doesn't mean that I will, follow everything. But yeah, I'm still looking at it, especially when I make like changes like I did. But yeah, um so I don't I don't really stop looking at it usually. Occasionally, there have been paintings where I do that, where it's just like at some point I don't care what the reference looked like, but, like right now when I'm going in and putting in, like, certain details and slightly moving features a little bit, it's, I still go back to it. Um, yeah, so, yeah, you know, I don't it's reference heavy, but, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll at one point, maybe I'll do a stream where I show, like, "Here's my original painting, and here's the reference," for some of them, just so people can get an idea of, like, what the degree of discrepancy is between them. It's not I don't wanna say it's huge because I don't feel like it is huge. Part of the reason it's not huge is because put a lot of effort into mm, getting what I consider good make for a good painting. So a lot of time and energy goes into setting it all up so that it does function. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like even when I'm using photos from the internet, and a lot of time searching for good ones and editing them and so on. And for this, like I took this in my bathroom and I oh, set up this little light here that you see, right? This is on a tripod. My camera is also on a tripod in this area. I had to edit it out. And then I used a light box on this side set to super like warm light, set this to very cool light, um, and took took photos, and I didn't take like one photo, I took like 50, and I moved the camera around. I have different shots where it's like the camera's on the other side of me, and lower and higher, and slightly changing my position and so on. So the the thing I think the thing that like I think stands out to me is that or that I've learned over time is that like for to get a really good painting, a lot of times you really have to have really good reference and very like intentional reference. It's a lot of like there's a lot of thought that goes into the reference, and it is really hard to see photos and be like, wait, is this a good photo or is this a good photo reference? Because they're not the same thing. And so it is challenging because it's so easy to get like to see really cool photos and be like, oh my God, that's such a cool photo. It'd make a great painting. And then you try and paint it and you're like, oh, it's not a good photo for a painting. I was wrong. That's happened to me a lot. Um, so, I mean, with effort, you can overcome those things. And it's also very different if you're like compositing everything together, right? Because then what happens is one of the things that happens is you get to a stage where it's like the reference, you know, the reference isn't correct anyways because it's a composite. So you have to kind of just like stop paying attention to it because it's just there's like some of the things are never going to fit correctly. So you have to just start like bringing it all together kind of thing, if that makes sense. But, and this one, honestly, this painting also is a bit of a composite, but not what I would consider a real composite. The question is, it's so tempting to get my little liner brush out and start going in and like doing all these like you know hair details and stuff like that. But I'll, there's so many details I could add in, and I am really working, put like very trying very hard not to give in and actually paint some of those details in because I don't think a lot of them will add to it. It'll just be details. I should put my gloves on, but I can't right now. Um, so I'll just and not get my hands dirty. Yeah, more details doesn't mean better. That took me years to learn, and to it's a tough one still to this day. But yeah, even in this reference, like there's certain there are definitely differences, obviously, but it is pretty close. All right, I think I did everything I need to on this one. I think I need to let it just sit now. Um, but I have the other painting to fix too. So luckily there's always more stuff to do. And then the only other thing too is I am going to there's a square up here that I didn't oil out. I'm going to oil out that when I put the painting to dry. Ah, still can't get the glove on. All right. If you're wondering why can't I get my gloves on, it's warm right now, and you know, the gloves don't want to go on if it's too like your hands get sticky from the sweat and everything. I know it's you know, magical information, but yeah. Dresden hair that I got out. All right. Hopefully it doesn't fall. Literally, it's just resting here, which it's pretty. It's a pretty solid. Oh, what's it called? Easel, but you never know. I did have a painting once fall, like just fall off the easel face down. It did happen once. Not ideal. Oh, Milo, you might find this interesting. I found this interesting. I was sorry, I'm just making sure. I trying to remember. It was a podcast of some sort that I found out. So I like mechanical pencils, and I used to like them a lot more because I used to use them a lot more when I did like comic book type drawings. And I have pretty much everything. It's zero, the regular 0.5, 0.7, 0.9, 1.0, 2.0. There's even thicker than that, which, whatever, barely a mechanical pencil at that point. Just kind of, and then I even have some 0.3s, right? Well, turns out there's a zero point 0.2, and I bought that a while ago. Don't know if I talked about it on stream, but yeah. Um, I immediately bought it because I was just like, I gotta have the 0.2. I'm barely ever going to use it, but I had to have it. Wait, oh, you're saying it's the size of a crayon? The bigger ones? Yeah, the bigger ones are. Yeah, the trying to remember. I don't know where it is because I never use it. But the one that's like really really thick. There's one that's like it really is the lead is, the lead pieces, or I think it also holds charcoal and other things. They're really thick. But no, the zero point 0.2 is super thin. That one's like a hair. Well, let me see if I have it over here. One second. the thick one, not the 0.2. But I had the, no, I don't. I don't know where I put it. I don't, because I never use it. So, like I said, I don't really draw like that anymore, almost ever. So, you know. Oh, here it is. Wait, here it is. This is a really thick one. Look at this. Look at how thick that is. Here's a, one second, let me find uh, here we are. Let me get a regular 0.5, right? Like just a regular 0.5. Like, look at that. This is the regular pencil, right? This is the lead of the thick, really thick one I have. But that's for like, it's more for shading. Well, I mean, not just shading. It's for everything, really. But it's you know obviously like very thick, and it does defeat the mechanical pencil features a little bit in the sense that like you have to sharpen it if you want it sharp, you know. But no, this is the point 0.2. Yeah, the 0.2 one, and this is like this is a, you can't even see it. This is a 0.3 and this is a 0.2. It's so thin. It's crazy. But yeah, I actually think if I had to say so, I actually think it's better than the 0.3 because the 0.3 tends to break a lot. The 0.2 won't break as much as the 0.3. Um, and and the reason is the little metal piece that like sticks out, right? That's designed to um it's the on the 0.2, it's designed to basically glide against the paper and retract as you wear through the lead. Whereas the 0.3 ones, they just stick out of the lead. I don't know if that entirely, like if I'm describing it very well, but yeah. So it's actually easier to draw with, surprisingly. All right. Oh yeah. All right. I'm trying to remember where I need to fix everything on this one. This one I won't. I don't think I'll be oiling out everything. Just trying to go in on the dry and fix it. But yeah, they're not too expensive either. The really small ones. I don't know. I just had to have like it was one of those things where it's like I had all of them except for that one, and I as soon as I heard about it, I was like, all right, I feel like I have to complete the set here, you know? I don't know. One day maybe I'll be go back to drawing a lot or something instead of painting a lot. I don't know. I will say I've seen people using like Posca markers and stuff. I don't know. I'm tempted to like try incorporating that somehow. I don't know. What do you mean by oil it out? Uh, and you gotta have it even if you don't need. You gotta have it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. How can I mean, I've got all of the other ones, you know. How can I not just pick up one? And it wasn't super expensive. We're talking about a mechanical pencil, not, you know, not something like super pricey. So it's like, yeah. Oil out. So oiling out is when you can do it with different mediums. You can use just regular linseed oil or walnut oil, or I like oleo gel, which is a linseed oil gel. It doesn't really matter. Well, okay, it matters what you use. You have to use things that are suitable for it, but aside from that, it doesn't matter. And what it does is it just you're just basically putting a very, very thin layer of oil on top of the painting. And the reason for doing that is um, some oil paint when it dries, the um, the oil the oil paints, they call it sinking. So when it sinks, what happens is it goes from like looking, you know, glossy or shiny and wet the way it went down, and now it looks kind of dry or matte. A lot of times it looks very matte. Um, and it messes up the contrast. So things that are darker look a little lighter suddenly. And then when you go over it with the oil, it all looks dark again. And it's that's really all it is. When you uh, when you varnish the painting, a varnish usually accomplishes that anyways, but you don't want to you don't want to paint back into a painting and not oil out at least some areas because you'll you won't be judging the colors accurately. The other thing is if you paint wet into wet, uh, if you oil out, it makes your brush strokes look like you're painting wet into wet again versus uh, you know, over a dry base. So you won't get like dry brush marks and stuff like that, you know. Um, so yeah, things like that. And actually, now that I'm looking at my reference, I think I will oil out more of it because there's some areas I want to fix. So right now, I'm just looking at um, the reflection of some of the gold that I put down just to check it. Um, and when I oil out, what I'm going to stay here. So like I'm basically on my knees on the floor right now. And the reason is because when I put down the oleo gel, it looks wet. Whereas if I'm not at an angle, sometimes it's very hard for me to see where the oil I put down, you know, is going, basically. There is one thing about oiling out. You don't, first of all, it's a very, very thin layer of oil that you're putting down, not a thick layer at all. Very, very thin. And the other thing is, you don't want to oil out, generally speaking. Um, this applies more to like really large paintings. You don't want to oil out the whole painting all the time because what what happens is you're going to waste a ton of oil, um, but uh, B, you're just going to build up a literal layer of oil that doesn't do anything. There's no pigment in it, so you're just putting on oil. But oil paint can yellow over time, and it can affect, the look of the painting. So it's not a good idea to oil out the whole painting constantly, especially if you're doing like a really large painting that takes, some of these like really large paintings take months, and you can be working on like uh one particular spot and not touch the rest of it, and you don't want to oil out the entire painting every time. So yeah, that's what oiling out is and why we do it. The reason I decided to oil out was because when I'm looking at my reference now, I see that like I need some of the hair. I'm going to kind of adjust a little bit. And the hair is the place where I see the most thinking. So part of the reason that paint think, my understanding is that the the basically the ground, whatever you're painting on, absorbs some of the oil, and so it like it basically sinks kind of below the pigment. I don't want to say it exactly that because it's not like the pigment is there and going to flake off, but that's kind of the like my understanding of it and why it looks that way. And to give you an example, when I painted on I painted on plastic and I painted on nylon paper, UPO paper, it never, um, almost never stank because those things don't absorb any um, any oil. All right, all right. So let's start by fixing the um, fix the places that I corrected and then now need to be fixed again. So what happened was when I paint over when I paint over these um, the oil, I mean the gold that I put down, if I make a mistake and I paint over the gold that I like don't want to, it's basically impossible to like fix. Once it's on top of the gold, it's there. I can I can try and like scrape it off, but the gold is so delicate that it usually comes off as well because the gold is just so thin and delicate. So unfortunately, sometimes I make mistakes. And it's not only mistakes, sometimes the gold doesn't stick and doesn't stay where I want it to. Um, so I have to like glue it a second time. So yeah, that's why the like going back and painting over a second time and so on. But yeah, it is not the simplest process, the whole gold leaf thing. And I would really only recommend it to people if it was like super important to what you're doing. Because I don't know, there might be a better way of working with gold leaf. Um, I'm pretty sure there is a better way of working with gold leaf, but yeah, for not for like how I want to work with it, but um, yeah. If and I guess if you plan everything, like really, really plan everything, and you put down the gold leaf first, and then you perfectly plan it, um, and then you basically never paint over the gold leaf. I don't know how you do that, but like if you can do that, if that's your skill, you can do that. That would definitely make working with it a lot easier. I will say that. I don't have that skill. I do not paint that way. I'm a much messier painter. And I do a lot more, back and forth with my painting. But some people probably would function really good like that, where they just like they plan out, they draw it, then they probably would draw it, put down the gold leaf exactly where it's going to go. Well, not exactly, probably past it, and then paint right into it. But I'm not that. I don't paint like that. I don't. Yeah, it's been years since I've painted like that. When I tried it a couple of years ago, I found it so frustrating because I tried to do a painting in layers. So, um, I drew it and then I painted in the dark areas, and then I went to paint in the light areas, and I needed to like fix some of the dark areas and stuff, but at that point I couldn't, and I found it super frustrating to work that way. So what I'm trying to do is just um, want to make this darker a bit, just because like her hair, um, yeah, I want to give the shape of it a little more. Not just the individual strands, which I already do have some of that, but, the bigger shape. So I'm gonna go in, try and redefine some of that. I want it to be a huge, huge change, but a bit. And what's happening with her hair here is that it's like tucked behind her, her shoulder. So I'm trying to like create that effect. I realize it's hard to see zoomed out like this. Guess I could zoom in, hopefully. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. That when I zoom in, it gets all wonky. Oh well. Usually I'd fix that, but I not today. I'm just gonna keep painting. It's a little wonky, I'm sorry. It's just the camera angle, that's all. Not that bad, plus the way you are explaining the process is awesome, thank you. You're drawing while watching and listening. Yeah, I know a lot of times, most of the time, I know that people aren't really watching the whole time. They're listening a lot more than they're watching. Um, I mean, I know that's how I used to watch, or that's how I usually watch when I'm watching someone, live who's doing art. Like I'll definitely look and pay attention, especially in like particular spots. But I know that a lot of the time it's just, people are busy, they're on their computer, or they're cooking or painting or drawing or whatever. Uh, but yeah, thank you for being here, Milo. I do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're working on. Just trying to add a little bit of like the highlights right now. Her hair is so dark. I'm just trying to give it a little more volume, um, by, dimension, not volume, like 3 dimensions. You know what I mean? And then, oh yeah, this is one thing I wanted to fix. So she has on her, um, on her top, it's like a bow, right? It's a black, you know, a black bow, but I don't know if it's satin or whatever it is. But, it reflects a bit of light. So I want to try and kind of, you know, define it a little bit better so it looks just a little bit better. which might mean, lightening it a little bit, which is fine. Just don't want to lighten it too much because then it won't look like it's black. But yeah. Oh, I saw this person on, I think, I don't know if it was Instagram or YouTube, but they bought this fabric that's like the world's darkest fabric. I've seen that before. Another YouTuber did some stuff with that, but what they were doing is they did a short or whatever, a reel or whatever, where they just put some you know different black items on this fabric, which is the darkest fabric, and it everything looks, when she adjusts the camera so that you can see the things, everything essentially looks gray in comparison. Really, really cool. Yeah, it, it is one of those things that I find absolutely fascinating. Um, is the contradiction of like how those, the darkest paint and the blackest black and the this fabric, how those are made, the contradiction between those, and like how, dark things kind of, I would say, appear in oil paint is fascinating. And I don't have an answer for it. I find it interesting. And so if you're curious, like, well, what contradiction am I talking about? So the way that um, those paints work, and the fabric is maybe the easiest way to explain it. But they're all matte is the is kind of the trick to them, right? The or one aspect of the trick to them. So they're matte, and because they're matte, they don't reflect light, so they absorb more light, which makes them look, blacker and darker, right? But in oil paint, a lot of times the paint looks darker when it's glossy, not when it's matte. Um, and I think that's super interesting. And it's like that with a lot of things. And part of the reason is because when something's matte, even if it's like if it's black but it's matte, you kind of can see the surface of it better. Whereas if it's glossy, it reflects more, but you don't see the surface of a lot of it. So it's shiny in certain areas, but like really dark in others. Um, yeah, but it doesn't function. Those paints and those like fabrics that are like, like the Vanta black and all that. Those don't function the same way. They're so black that you don't see the on the surface. You don't see any of that basically. It's kind of cool though. It is. Those paints and everything are, and the fabric is really cool. I saw I saw one YouTube channel, they wrapped a car in that fabric, and it's it's so trippy because it makes the car look 2D. Like it looks like a cutout. Um it's really really trippy. You can't see it very well on camera, but I could still I could still kind of get the feeling. But of course, in real life, I'm sure it was even way more of an effect. But yeah. All right, there we go. I know it's a minor touch up and you can't really see, it's not very obvious, but just wanted to get that like little shine in that there. So, and I fixed the big thing was the hand. The hand needed the gold was covering so much of it that needed to be, you know, painted over, and I just see a little bit more that needs it. And then there's one more thing that I need to fix here. So the gold's going in between her fingers, her thumb and her finger, and I don't want that. So I'm going to have to fix that. Take some white and some of my magenta, mix up a little bit. There we go. It's such a small difference, but a difference nonetheless. Just separating the fingers, you know, so it doesn't like web between them. And yeah, I think that's it. I think this one's done. I need to come up, I was thinking about maybe redoing my signature. I stopped signing my paintings at a certain point, but thinking about trying to come up with a new signature and sign them again. Um, you got caught by the auto mod. What you don't like hot chicks with webbed fingers? Come on. I don't have a problem with it. It's more just um this you want to get the silhouette, you know. But next time I paint a mermaid, yeah, I'll do the webbed fingers for sure. All right. But yeah, and we're right at the 2 hour mark. So pretty pretty perfect. Um yeah, I'll publish my stream schedule. I think it's going to have to be Monday, Wednesdays for the near future or foreseeable future. But yeah, um, I'm going to call it a day for today. Milo, thank you so much for hanging out. Des as well. And Zep, thank you. Anyone who's lurking, I appreciate you. And any VOD watchers, also always appreciated. Check out Milo, Artist of the Roundtable. His channel is definitely worth checking out. Uh, you can see him in the. You can just click on his name in the chat, and yeah, have a great. It's Wednesday today. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. And yeah, I will. Um, like I said, I'll publish my schedule probably Monday, my next stream. So yeah, have a great week, everybody. Bye.